Now, over the years, as you know, I've tested a lot of tents, and when it comes to tents that just are the perfect four-season tent, and from a thermal standpoint, I've said this over and over again, these Up Series tents are absolute rock stars. There's not another tent that I've tested that has the thermal properties that these tents have from the inner and outer wall. And so when you have an authentic Breg tent, and how you know you have an authentic Breg tent is when it has this badge right here with that little salmon hanging on it, you know you have a authentic Breg tent. Why is that important? Well, Breg makes these tents to just absolute rigorous craftsmanship and just level of detail that these people put into these tents. But at any rate, right behind me is their flagship out of the Up series. This is the UP-7. Now, as many of you know, over the years, I've tested the UP-5, which was, man, one of my favorite tents. This thing's big, and this is a true, as I mentioned a moment ago, true four-season tent, and it goes up blazing fast. And actually, to demonstrate just how fast this thing goes up, let's go back a few minutes and let me show you just how quick this thing goes up. All right, now that you see just how fast this thing goes up, now I'm gonna go around and point out some of the details with you. So this is I want to say this is a first impression because technically I brought this out last weekend out in Joshua Tree where it was absolutely crazy windy. I want to say it got cold, but it did dip down into the 40s, and inside of here remain in the 60s. Again, from a thermal standpoint, these tents don't require much energy to stay warm when it's cold and so forth. And so there's two people inside of it and it remained in the 60s just off of body heat by itself. But at any rate, so what I'm gonna do here is I have my trusty camera right here and I'm gonna go around and point out some of the details, what makes this a true flagship for Breg. And what I'll do down below as well, I'll put a link to Bereg Canada. So if you are interested in one of these tents, Bereg Canada is where you can get a authentic Bereg Up Series, Hexagon, and all the other tents that are in this line. But let's jump inside this thing and take a look at some of the features that this thing has. All right, first is first, I feel I need to apologize for the noise. You see, it's 90, where are we at? We're 86 degrees, I thought it was 90. 86 degrees out, and it seems I'm not the only one that decided to get out here and enjoy this nice-ish weather. It's a little warm. So part of the noise, there's a road right over here. But at any rate, inside, as you can see, this tent is huge inside here. So the diameter of this tent right here, you're talking about 16.4 feet going across. It is an amazing 7.5 feet tall. The weight of this tent is just 86 pounds. And as you saw when I came here, you know, while I haven't picked up the replacement for my Gladiator yet, and you saw me came in here, I pulled this out of my Tesla. So this enormous tent, not only does it go up as quick as it does, and it's massive inside of here, but it came out of a trunk of a Tesla Model 3. So I wanted to point that out because you don't need a big truck SUV to be able to get out and enjoy a tent like this. All right, now let's talk about some of the obvious things inside of here. So right off the get-go, we have two large doors, one right here And adjacent to that, on the other side, you have another one. We're going to talk about some cool features about that door here in a moment. Like the UP-7, you have you have two windows, one right there, and then another one right there. I'm going to just turn the camera around here. That's going to make it much easier. Now, each of these has a inner lining, which is going to block out anything. You have this nice screen, and you have an outer kind of cover as well, as shown. I should have started on this one right over here, so you can see right here. And you have these nice zippers that go all the way around, and it works out fantastic with these little tie downs to get it out of the way. So anyway, you have two windows there, and you have one of the first things that I really admire about these tents is you have tremendous storage. So unless I pointed out, you might not have noticed this because it kind of camouflages into the side, but you have all these storage bits going all the way around the tent, actually up here as well. More right there, again, more up there. And then if you look right up here, I don't know why I made my voice go like that, but
what did you say?
I'm gonna own it, go with it. So you have, oops, this one. Okay, I'm not gonna be able to get it in there with one hand holding the camera, but you get the point of it. You have more storage up there. And here's something cool as well. So around the perimeter of this, you have all of these hooks, which is great for hanging up lights or wires or whatever the heck that you want to be able to hang up on there. And you have right up there as well. So again, you have all of these hooks all over the place. Again, great for storage. Now right here, this is a hot tent. So you have your stove jack right here, and you just open it up from the outside, peel it up. This is a fire resistant, heat resistant material here that goes down, and then you would set your stove right here. Now the doors, again, what makes these tents absolutely amazing is you have, let's see if we can show this here. All right, so you can see you have an outer wall and you have an inner wall, and what that does is it creates an airspace or a pocket between, and that's the buffer that gives this tent its magic thermal properties here. Not really magic, but you get the point where I'm leaning with this. So on the door, each door has a outer door. You have the screen, which is kind of camouflagey, and then you have a inner door, which I have it wrapped up and attached to the inside here at this moment. One other point I want to point out, speaking of back on the storage here, so you have these little pocket things here on each side, which have little zippers, and you have the clear plastic behind it so you can see what you have stored in there. And again, one more on that side as well. Now as we jump outside, one thing I want to point out a little closer here, again, you know you're getting a authentic Breg tent when you see this logo right here. It's kind of like this thick rubbery material here. And I'm going to share something with you. So when I took this out last week, I learned something about these tents. Now this is one of, if you look at each of these, there are 8 arms that hold this thing up. Arms, I'm going to put on the screen what they officially call it. But your support struts here that are holding this tent up. I think that sounds better than arms. Anyways, in between, you have these tie-down points right in the center. You have tie-down points, actually multiple, on the struts here. One on the bottom. You also have one up on the top. But here's the little Easter egg that I learned last week. Let's see if I can do this with one hand here. Okay. I had to put the camera down. Look at, so your guy lines, I had no idea. You have this little Velcro pocket that you can stuff your guidelines in there, so once you're putting the tent away, the guidelines go nice and tucked in there. They're not getting all knotted up with all the others, and it's already tied onto this, which will make it much faster to when you're getting set up. Had no idea. I love Easter eggs, and that's a pretty cool one. But the big Easter egg, which I'm going to show you on the other side here in a moment. Anyway, so you have all these tie downs, and then you have along the perimeter of the bottom of the tent, you have these little spots where you can actually anchor down the bottom of the tent as well. And actually, let's zipper up so we can see what this looks like from the outside, or I can share with you. Let me grab the right one here. Okay, here we go. This is the screen. So you can see that screen even has a very camouflage. You can see just barely through the other side. So you do get a little privacy. And then again, from the inside, let's jump inside there. So in the inside, you can still see, you have, hopefully the camera's picking it up here, but you can still see quite easily through the outside. But from the outside looking in, you have a bit of privacy there, which is really nice. And one other thing, now that I'm back inside here, I do want to point out one of the things I've always enjoyed about these tents is the top. You have this white kind of sheen material, and at night when you have your lights up onto here, you know, it kind of reminds me of like my soft boxes for photography. You put it doesn't take a lot of light putting it up onto here to illuminate all this area, because this white area right here, let's see if I can get down so you can see. There we go. That white area becomes almost like a lens, and it just, a little illumination goes a long way inside of here. And one thing I do want to point out with the floor here is you're going to see a zipper that goes around the entire perimeter. Now, I have this crazy heavy duty floor that was sent with this thing. And we're going to leave that for another video, but that goes in here, and that is noticeably a lot thicker than this right here. And so this zips in and it zips out quite easily, and then the other thicker one you could put in there and zips in. It's waterproof, and it's crazy thick. And so, but anyway, I do want to point out that because this actually comes out quite easily as well. And one last little bit that I'm going to share with you here, and this is right to the right of the main door. There is a little bit of screen mesh here on the outside. I already have it kicked open, and that is a little vent, and obviously this can be rolled up right here and secured with that little bit right there. And so that's going to keep a little flow of oxygen or fresh air coming inside of here during winter months, or, you know, basically whenever. All right, now this is one of the coolest things I've always enjoyed with these styles tents. You actually have a swinging door. Yes, an actual swinging door. So it comes like this, and it's actually, to deploy it, it's actually quite simple. It works the same way as the walls. You just kind of fold it out and pop it open. Make sure you don't whack yourself. And then you have a thick Velcro side right here, and you're going to notice right on the right side, I had to check to make sure there wasn't on the other side as well. But if you look, flip this over right here, you can see there is two thick sides. And what we're going to do, it's actually quite simple. I don't know if there's a right or wrong with this, but I'm going to start on the top. Get our door, get that right in there. Okay, I'm going to come down here, and boom, it is that easy, friends. So you put the back side of the Velcro there, flip it over, and boom. Now you have a swinging and functional door, which is pretty cool stuff. And when you get into location, you just flip it up underneath here, and that kind of keeps it nice and snug inside. Now, let's get to the real cool part. Okay, to finish up this first impression or second impression of the UP-7, I don't know whether I'm going to call it first impression. I'm going to call this show and tell for all of us here. Although, again, I got to play around with it last weekend as well. But at any rate, the final, this is the Easter egg, the surprise I shared with you about earlier. This tent has, you can get an optional mini vestibule with it, and that's exactly what's inside this little thing here. So we're going to open this up. This is going to be a good old-fashioned wing it, and see how that goes. So I've never, in all of my Breg tent reviews and so forth in the past, I've never dealt with one of their vestibules. So let's see what we have in here. All right, so when you look at the side of this here, now you have the guidelines that will come in here and add just a little bit more structure to this here. But you can get a sense of just how much they call this a mini vestibule, and you can see why. So it gives you a little nook there, and we'll go in through the other side so we can see this a little bit more, but you can see just how much more space you actually receive with that. That would be great for cooking, putting your shoes, your muddy boots, you know, the cooler, whatever you want outside of the tent. And you have this zipper that goes up through here. Let's go through the other side and just see what it looks like on the inside. What do we do with that zipper door? Okay, go through our door. Oh, that is cool. Okay, so let's take a step back here. Now that we have the door open, you can see it. That's pretty cool. That is really, again, I'm not sure how much of this is going to show up on the camera. Oh, this is what I was talking about. So you can see you have that little pocket there that you jam that thing in, and you have one right over here as well. So, and again, the vestibule has a screen door with it as well as the main exterior. That is really cool. So look at, I mean, this is, I'm gonna try to get down. I'm using my feet as a point of reference here. So you have, geez, a good 3-4-ish feet foot room down on the top, on the bottom, and then up on top. That's easily, yeah, that's about 4 feet over there. So on the bottom, it's probably about 2.5, 3 feet, something like that. And so it still works with our door. That is cool stuff. I really like that. All right, friends, and that's going to wrap up this first impression of Bereg UP-7, their flagship dome-style tent. And I have to say, I'm pretty impressed with this. And again, with the vestibule, which we don't have the guidelines on there. I feel I need to point that out because it's slouching a little bit there, but we just set it up to play show and tell and see how the heck that went up. What do you think? Personally, I am impressed. But then again, Breg has always done a great job with their tents, and the mini vestibule, I think, is a really nice touch. Again, if you want authentic Breg tents, I'm going to put a link down below. You can pick them up from Breg Canada. Again, link down below. And that's going to be it for this this video here. This was fun. So you're going to certainly be seeing more of this UP-7 in upcoming videos, and especially when wintertime comes. Because as I mentioned, again, if you enjoy cold weather camping, or if you ever thought about it, when you have a tent like this, it is an absolute, and I hate using this term here, but game changer. Such a cliche thing to say, but really, these tents really shift the dynamics into, you know, putting the cards into your favor. When you have the proper tools to be able to get out and do things, you can enjoy it that much more. And when you get to go cold weather camping in a tent that is designed, truly designed for some very frigid temperatures and so forth, it makes it a ton of fun. Get yourself a wood stove inside of this here, or a diesel heater, one of the two, or both, and you're cooking. Well, friends, yeah, that's all I got. So I'm going to be shutting off the cameras. Leave any comments or questions down below, and also let me know, what did you think of this tent here? All right, friends, I will see you in the next video.